Fate Apocrypha, Act 1st, Unbirth. The sage cries out, "Open, gate of heaven, bless us and bestow miracles upon us." It was a place endlessly surrounded by cravings. Gluttony and lust bring forth avariciousness and a hunger for fame, in turn bringing forth violence and cajolery. Everyone gladly threw themselves into the endless hell. The women sell their bodies, the men sell their violence. The men sell their bodies, the women sell their honor, laughing and being laughed, devouring and being devoured, jeering and being jeered at, harming and being harmed, violating and being violated. This is Shinjuku, a place that truly shone in the darkness of the night. Never seen before, and never again shall be, battle royale between magi who had attained the qualifications of master, and heroes summoned as servant. That is the Holy Grail War. A magus, who had qualified and now was preparing to join the battle, was here in Shinjuku as well. However, he still had a dilemma. He could not summon his servant. On the roof of the multi-tenant building, a magic circle was drawn in a human blood. The etched circle glittered crimson, and abruptly, as thought something had been cut off, the light was lost. "It's not working." The man dropped his shoulders in disappointment. Before his eyes were 4 strangely shaped knives, and 2 butcher knives. It was a symbol to summon the servant. Using the 6 blades, favored by the serial killer, the magus attempted to summon the servant, and failed. This isn't enough. Yeah, it's totally not enough. Generally, having an item with the affinity to the heroic spirit will suffice in summoning the specific servant. For example, the shed of the holy sword, once wielded by the king of knights. Or perhaps fossil of cast skin from the first snake in the world to shed its skin. If you could prepare something like that, drawing a specific servant is comparatively easier. However, there exist 2 points which led to the failure of the summoning this time. One was the caliber of a man as a magus. In the Holy Grail War, entirely unlike the 4, there were 14 magi who became masters. By necessity, there are also 14 servants. It is the double of the norm. Following this, the grail that originally would support the summoning can only exert half of its strength, and the rest must be made by a magus. And regrettably, the man was nothing more by the second-rate magus. Another point was how weak the heroic spirit the man had been trying to summon was. He was weak, though merely in the terms of belief. The servant the man had been trying to summon was an existence from merely 121 years ago. Despite his fame, he was not one who could match those who were worshipped as a god or heroes. In short, what was needed was a push, by any means necessary. "Now, what shall I do?" As he lamented, the man scratched his head. After a moment, he thought of a good idea. These 6 weapons were specialized blades used practically for one deed. In that case, when would these weapons exercise their most proper function? The answer was, obviously, when they were being practically used. He will create a situation where these lethal weapons can be practically used. If he can do this, the connection with a servant should become strong enough for summoning. So basically, I need a woman. The man picked someone suitable for the role immediately. There was a woman who sold her body to make a living. That was exactly what the woman currently by his side did, wasn't it? She was originally just a woman on whom he had cast suggestions when he infiltrated this city. He had no hesitations in treating her as something disposable. "All right, Let's do this! As he incinerated the magic circle and left the building, the man's eyes switched from the cold ones belonged to Magus to the ones reminding you of the warm and innocent young man. A host was his profession, his working name Hikaru. The Magus' true name, Sagara Hyouma, melted away into the city of cravings, practically perfectly. To Rikudu Reika, the sounds of the heart were strange. As her heart thumped, she lived. Without this sound, her brain, organs, and limbs would be dead. This fist-sized organ, sounding as though this small sound was all that it could manage, allowed one to live. Reika could not help but feel it strange. One does not live, but is allowed to live by the heart. Hazily thinking such things, that was how she spent her life, simply being swept along. She still did not know what the purpose of her life was. Perhaps it was because she did not have a family. Perhaps it was because she had been abused before she was adopted. Perhaps it was because she could not do anything when she was a child. Reika knew nothing. However, even if she did not know, a human cannot being survive without making money. Even Reika knew this, so for the present she decided to live on by selling her body. Fortunately, she never had a trouble with a client. Why did someone like her, passed by and suddenly hit on by the host on the streets, so easily agreed to live together with him, knowing that she would be exploited? Reika did not know why she did that, but it hurt her head to think, so she stopped. Sagara Hyouma was kind. At least, he did not use violence against her. The most he had ever done was ask small sums of money. Even when he did this, he did not threaten violence. He simply requested. For some reason, she could not defy his requests. She could never even have to intend to. She did not quite understand, but perhaps this was the thing called love. Reika would not think of this in that way. She would think of this and be happy. One day, the man may wake up himself, or perhaps he may continue their love. Marriage, childbirth, a family, or perhaps divorce. Both being far off into the future, they were a bother for Reika to think about it. She did not know what will happen in her life during the coming days, but at last she will be allowed to live to the next day, so Reika thought. And she knew that this was wrong.